Okay, Divergent Evolution, by the way. Hi, Mom. So, Divergent Evolution, in the most basic terms, is where you have a common ancestor, and that common ancestor splits into two different species with different physical features and different genetics. That is what it is in the most simple, basic terms possible. So, going back as far as possible, we have our last universal common ancestor, or Luca. What Luca is, as it says, the last common ancestor that all life on Earth shared. Now, we currently don't know what Luca is, what type of organism, or even if it's an organism with any resemblance to what we have today, but it is the last organism that existed before it split off into archaea, bacteria, eukaryotes, etc. Fast forwarding here, we have Tiktaalik, aka Grandpa, which is the first vertebrate creature to crawl its ass out of the ocean. Yeah, we've got our great-granddad Tiktaalik over here. So this generally comes to rise due to speciation, which is where there's one common ancestor, and due to environmental conditions, it splits into two or more different species. And each species has its own specific adaptations to deal with other environmental conditions. For example, beak size based on what food is available in a certain area. So, speciation events usually arise due to geographical isolation, where due to some event, two halves or two bits of a population are separated from each other. For example, we have a population of organism A. Organism A lives in on the coast of a continent. There is a massive storm, and some parts of organism A get blown out to a tiny island off the coast of this continent. Those two populations are now separated because original population can't get over to the island, and island population can't get over back to the mainland. Over time, the population of organism A adapts to that island and gradually evolves into organism B. They are now genetically and probably morphologically separated from organism A. Then, to determine whether or not these two species really are two separate species, the two populations have to rejoin again a period later, perhaps due to another storm, perhaps due to some of organism A being brought over to organism B's island because of human activity, etc., etc. And species are generally considered to be separate if the two different populations can no longer interbreed due to behavioral differences, physical differences, genetic differences, embryological, so perhaps they can interbreed, but then the babies aren't viable or are infertile, etc. So that is kind of basic how speciation works and results in two separately distinct species. And those two species are now considered to have diverged off of their common ancestor, which is kind of the root in my finger here. So if we look here, we kind of have a eukaryote phylogeny going on. So if we look down at the very bottom, at the root of the tree, we have some species that diverged off, such as the sponges and the cnidarians. Later diverged off into bilateria, which has bilateral symmetry, which includes the echinoderms, so like starfish, as well as the chordates, which are us. We're chordates, and that's like vertebrates, so mammals, birds, reptiles, etc. And then up a bit later we have ecdysozoa, which includes things like insects and roundworms. No, sorry, not roundworms. What are nematodes? Nematodes roundworms? Yeah, nematodes are roundworms, annelids are segmented worms. Never mind. So this is kind of a basic phylogeny. It can get way more complicated. Don't even get me fucking started on fish taxonomy. That's a whole nother video, whole nother headache. So yeah, that's kind of just the basics of divergent evolution. One common ancestor splits into two descendant species.